Renegade Immortal Episode 114. You know the game, though. You can pass through entirely with the magic treasure alone, but you can't also demand my company at the same time. We just jointly answered these 3 questions, and the rank can also advance. The first person Yao Xixue thought of was naturally Wang Lin. However, he knew Wang Lin's temperament was cold, and without a compelling reason, it would be extremely difficult to invite him. To obtain the inheritance within the immortal mansion, he had no other choice. That day, while Wang Lin was meditating, his expression subtly changed. Yao Xixue's voice directly echoed within his primordial spirit, inviting him to the military camp at the 3rd watch, midnight, to meet at Ancient Mountain, 1,000 li away. Wang Lin pondered for a moment, then closed his eyes and paid no attention. At the 3rd watch, Yao Xixue, clad in white, waited quietly at the peak of Ancient Mountain. However, Wang Lin never showed up, even after the morning sun appeared on the horizon. Yao Xixue's face was frosty. He let out a cold snort, transformed into a white mist, and charged directly towards Wang Lin's military camp. As a commander himself, the military camp's formation was ineffective against him. He teleported in, ignoring the demon soldiers training in the square, and flew straight towards Wang Lin's pavilion. 13, guarding outside the pavilion, suddenly opened his eyes, stood up, and shouted for the intruder to stop. Yao Xixue's expression was icy cold, and his speed only increased. 13 roared and threw a punch. Yao Xixue didn't even spare him a glance, instead pointing a finger at the void. A beam of blood-red light enveloped 13, instantly immobilizing him on the spot. At this moment, several commanders in the square and 9,000 demon soldiers also reacted, charging forward like a stampede of 10,000 horses, shouting for Yao Xixue to stop. Yao Xixue waved his hand, and a burst of blood-red light illuminated the heavens and earth, forming a 100-zhang barrier that blocked everyone outside. He coldly left a message, "I have private matters to discuss," and stepped towards the pavilion. Just as he was about to enter, a gentle breeze wafted out from within the pavilion. The breeze blew upon him, causing his expression to change, and the blood-red light around his body flickered violently. The breeze also swept past 13, lifting his restriction. Wang Lin's calm voice, betraying no emotion, came from within the pavilion. He merely pointed out, "Commander Yao has quite a temper." Yao Xixue's face was still frosty. He let out a cold snort, retorting that Wang Lin's airs were even greater. With that, he pushed the door open and entered. Inside the pavilion, it was pitch black. Wang Lin sat cross-legged in the shadows, his expression unclear. He coldly warned Yao Xixue that if there was no reason that could move him, he shouldn't be blamed for not being gentle with women. Yao Xixue was startled. He had originally come filled with anger, intending to question Wang Lin about why he didn't keep the appointment. Wang Lin merely retorted, "Why should I go?" This single retort instantly left Yao Xixue speechless. He realized he had been too reckless. Taking a deep breath, he suppressed his temper, bowed slightly, and apologized for his presumption. Then he set up a blood-red light barrier, isolating the entire pavilion, before explaining his purpose. He hoped to enlist Wang Lin's help to break a certain formation restriction, promising a generous reward afterward. Wang Lin remained silent for a moment, then directly refused, stating that he had important matters to attend to and couldn't help. He understood in his heart that the other party's words were not entirely truthful and too much was being concealed. Moreover, a restriction that even the other party's cultivation couldn't break was bound to be extremely dangerous, and he had no obligation to get involved in this mess. Yao Xixue had long anticipated that Wang Lin wouldn't agree easily and wasn't discouraged. He directly addressed Wang Lin's core need, immortal jades. He pointed out that for Wang Lin to break through from the mid-stage of Yingbian to the late stage, and even to attempt the soul transformation stage, would require a vast amount of immortal jades. Furthermore, he would need to reserve immortal jades for 500 years of consumption in this place. He asked if Wang Lin's immortal jades were sufficient, stating that he could provide them. Wang Lin opened his eyes in the darkness, two golden rays flickering like bright moons. He slowly asked how much the other party could provide. Yao Xixue smiled brightly, only afraid that Wang Lin wouldn't be tempted. He calmly stated his price. He could provide Wang Lin, starting from now, with all the immortal jades needed until he reached the early stage of soul transformation. This condition indeed tempted Wang Lin. The reason he painstakingly refined demon power was precisely because he lacked immortal jades and had to save enough for unforeseen circumstances. He had even long decided that once his cultivation was sufficient, he would lead his troops out to plunder any cultivators he encountered to gather immortal jades. Yao Xixue's proposal perfectly resolved his worries. He also promised to pay in advance the immortal jades required to advance to the late stage of Yingbian, with the rest to be settled upon their return. Wang Lin pondered for a long time, finally relenting and asking what kind of formation restriction it was. Yao Xixue only said that after the formation was activated, a revolving wheel method would appear. Inside, there were 18 seals, and he could only break up to the 11th seal. He concealed the terrifying truth that failure in this formation meant life or death. He also concealed the fact that he had already died 4 times for this, consuming 4 blood soul pills. Wang Lin possessed extraordinary wisdom. He knew deeply that the other party had concealed crucial information, but the temptation of immortal jades was simply too great. He pondered for a moment, his eyes brightened, and he asked again, "Where is the formation?" Yao Xixue, however, held back a bit. He stated that it was inconvenient to say more before Wang Lin agreed, only emphasizing that this formation required a special magic treasure to enter, and currently, no one in the demon spirit land could enter except him. Wang Lin calculated in his mind that what the other party said was not entirely true, but immortal jades were extremely important. He decided not to agree easily, as he had to see the other party's bottom line. So, he shook his head and slowly said, "I need to consider this matter. I will give Commander Yao a reply in 4 months." Yao Xixue's delicate brows furrowed slightly. He felt that he had already been extremely sincere, having said everything that needed to be said and offered substantial compensation. He had even forcefully suppressed his temper just to get Wang Lin's help. But now, Wang Lin repeatedly procrastinated, which truly made him impatient. However, if he didn't have Wang Lin's help, he would have to wait until after reaching the soul transformation stage to break that restriction. Although he didn't lack the immortal jades needed for soul transformation, his comprehension of the heavenly Tao had always made no progress. The time it took to comprehend the heavenly Tao could be long or short, and no one knew when enlightenment would truly come. What's more, this matter absolutely could not be known by the indigenous inhabitants of this place, otherwise, it would surely lead to a catastrophe. After much thought, Wang Lin was his only and most suitable choice at the moment. Especially after personally witnessing Wang Lin's battle with the demon general after he had fallen into a demonic state, he was even more convinced that with Wang Lin's help, they would definitely be able to break the remaining restrictions and seals. He recalled Wang Lin's previous words, and with his cunning, he immediately understood the other party's intention. The so-called 4 months of consideration time was merely a bargaining chip to demand more compensation. Having understood this point, a hint of disdain flashed in his heart, and his tone also grew cold. He directly asked Wang Lin if he still wanted more immortal jades, magic treasures, or cultivation techniques. Wang Lin was completely unfazed by the change in his attitude. He calmly stated, "I am not lacking in magic treasures or cultivation techniques. If they can be converted into more immortal jades, that would naturally be for the best." Yao Xixue's disdain grew stronger. He directly threw out an even bigger chip. His father's cave mansion contained countless immortal jades, and he could give Wang Lin a blood subjugation token. After leaving this demon spirit land, Wang Lin could go retrieve them himself. Wang Lin nodded in approval, but he still wouldn't budge. He only said that the matter was unpredictable and dangerous, and he needed more time to consider. Yao Xixue's expression immediately turned cold. She pressed him, asking how long he needed to consider. Wang Lin calmly shortened the time from 4 months to 3 months. At this, Yao Xixue flew into a rage. She flicked her sleeve, opened the pavilion door, and turned to leave. Wang Lin still calmly said he wouldn't see her out. However, just as Yao Xixue stepped half a foot out of the pavilion, she suddenly stopped. She took a few deep breaths, gritted her teeth, clearly having made her final decision. She took out a wax pellet from her storage pouch, turned, and looked at Wang Lin coldly. She threw out her final condition. I'll give you this item. 3 days later, leave with me. If you still don't agree, then this matter is completely off. Wang Lin's gaze instantly fixed on the wax pellet. The item looked ordinary, but it was covered with delicate runes which were flickering at a strange frequency, a frequency exactly the same as Yao Xixue's heartbeat and breathing. Wang Lin asked in a deep voice, "What is this item?" Yao Xixue's eyes revealed unconcealed disdain and mockery as she told him he didn't even know this. She informed him that this item was called the Blood Soul Pill, a unique item belonging to her father, the evil ancestor. Seeing no change in Wang Lin's expression, Yao Xixue coldly explained the pill's effects. This pill is not meant to be swallowed, but rather leaves a trace of one's primordial spirit and a flesh and blood imprint. Should the holder encounter misfortune, even if their primordial spirit is completely destroyed, this pill can take their place in death, allowing them to be resurrected once. This heaven-defying effect finally made Wang Lin's expression change completely. With a wave of his right hand, the wax pellet detached from Yao Xixue's hand and landed in his palm. Yao Xixue did not stop him, having long anticipated that Wang Lin would personally inspect it. Seeing Wang Lin's moved expression, she sneered inwardly. Although the pill she gave was also a blood soul pill, it was a defective one. This was specially differentiated by her father to prevent others from snatching it. Although it also contained blue blood, it was full of too many impurities and toxins. Apart from the two of them, father and daughter, no one else could distinguish its authenticity. If Wang Lin truly placed his hopes on this defective pill, then half of his life would already be lost. The moment Wang Lin grasped the wax pellet, he immediately noticed that the flickering frequency of the runes suddenly changed, becoming perfectly synchronized with his own heartbeat. A wondrous feeling of bloodline fusion came over him, as if this item was originally a part of his body. This strong sense of reality made Wang Lin no longer doubt. He took a deep breath, looked up at Yao Xixue, and only said 3 words, "Give me the immortal jade." Without a word, Yao Xixue pulled out a storage pouch and stated clearly, "Inside here is enough immortal jade for you to cultivate to the late stage of adaptation. The rest will be given to you when we return." She set the meeting time and place for 3 days later, Drum Mountain, when the purple demonic aura is at its densest. Wang Lin was silent for a moment, then slowly agreed. Only then did Yao Xixue smile, turn, and leave. She wasn't worried at all that Wang Lin would take the items and go back on her word. She didn't care about the immortal jade, and as for that pill, she cared even less about it. Wang Lin's gaze followed Yao Xixue's disappearing figure before he retracted it, a deep contemplation appearing in his eyes. He immediately sensed that something was wrong. The other party's departure was too carefree. He knew in his heart that if this blood soul pill truly had such heaven-defying effects, its preciousness would probably be comparable to an immortal treasure. For Yao Xixue to ask for his help and actually take out one such pill was already suspicious. And her carefree attitude, showing no worry when she left, further confirmed Wang Lin's suspicions. He sneered to himself, "If she hadn't been so carefree, I would at most only be suspicious. But now I can be certain, these bastards definitely have something up their sleeves." Wang Lin's eyes flashed. He immediately summoned the soul of his guide from back then, Chao Ito, from his soul banner. He first asked about the evil ancestor's name, and Chao Ito's expression changed drastically upon hearing it. He respectfully replied, "The evil ancestor's prestige is immense. He is a super powerful expert on Tianyun Star, known to everyone. He once challenged Tianyunzi 7 times, and although he failed each time, his cultivation grew stronger and stronger. He is rumored to be the 3rd strongest person on Tianyun Star." Wang Lin then asked, "Have you heard of the blood soul pill?" Upon hearing this name, Xiao Ito immediately became incredibly excited, far more than when Wang Lin had promised to help him find a physical body. He quickly stated that this pill was one of the top 3 most precious treasures on Tianyun Star. It has the power to seize the heavens and earth, create miracles, defy fate, and change destiny, allowing cultivators to be resurrected from death. It is a unique item of the Blood Clan. Wang Lin then opened his palm, revealing the wax pellet. Xiao Ito only took one look before excitedly asking Wang Lin to drip blood on it. Wang Lin complied, squeezing out a drop of fresh blood onto the wax pellet. A blue light emerged from within the wax pellet, lasting for 3 breaths before disappearing. Seeing this, Xiao Ito immediately shouted ecstatically, "White aura surrounds it." 3,614 runes flicker with the heartbeat on the blood drop. Blue lines. This is definitely a genuine blood soul pill. Wang Lin's expression was grim. He suddenly asked him coldly, "Since your status in the sect back then wasn't high, why are you so knowledgeable about the method to distinguish the authenticity of this blood soul pill, understanding it so thoroughly?" Xiao Ito was startled, then forced a bitter smile and said, "Master, you may not know, this method of identification is known to almost everyone on Tianyun Star. It's hardly a secret at all." Wang Lin waved his hand, putting Xiao Ito away. His expression was already as dark as water. He held the wax pellet in his hand, his eyes clear. He completely understood why the method to identify such a precious pill would be widely known to everyone. This was clearly a shocking deception set up by the evil ancestor. By making the method of distinguishing genuine from fake pills public, he made everyone believe they held the secret, thereby perfectly concealing the defective pills mixed among them. Wang Lin sneered inwardly. "Yao Xixue dares to scheme against me so viciously? Then don't blame me for being ruthless." He originally wanted to crush this fake pill, but with a change of thought, he still put it into his storage pouch. He had cultivated for hundreds of years, and the reason he was alive today was due to the wisdom and cunning gained through countless experiences. Merely from Yao Xixue's carefree expression and Xiao Ito's ordinary words, he had deduced the entire truth hidden behind it. Wang Lin no longer pondered. He picked up the storage pouch left by Yao Xixue. His divine sense swept through the vast amount of immortal jade inside, confirming it was indeed true. He only had 3 days. He immediately burrowed deep underground, sat cross-legged, surrounded himself with all the immortal jade, and began to absorb it frantically. He didn't have time to slowly integrate it. Instead, relying on his previous deep understanding of the demon spirit structure, he continuously accumulated and compressed the vast amount of immortal jade within his body in the same manner. Finally, an immortal spirit identical in structure to the demon spirit, but radiating pure immortal essence, condensed within his body. 3 days later, it was another night of purple demonic radiance. At the peak of Drum Mountain, Yao Xixue had already been waiting for a long time, a hint of anxiety in her eyes. Just as the appointed time was approaching, a long rainbow swiftly arrived, landing on the mountaintop and transforming into Wang Lin, who was also clad in white. Yao Xixue immediately took action, setting up a formation composed of 7 blood-colored statues that completely concealed the aura of the entire ancient mountain. Upon testing, Wang Lin found that even his divine sense could not perceive himself within the formation, and he couldn't help but secretly admire the Blood Clan's methods. Yao Xixue took out the blood-colored compass, solemnly warning Wang Lin that when the purple aura in the sky was at its densest, the compass would emit a beam of blood-red light. This light would only last for 1 breath of time, and he must follow closely behind her. To reassure Wang Lin, she promised that upon their return, she would not only pay the remaining balance, but also tell him the correct way to use the mixed scroll. No sooner had she spoken than the purple-winged aura in the sky intensified, and the compass indeed burst forth with a rich blood-red light. Yao Xixue let out a soft cry, "Go," and immediately stepped into the blood-red light. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, revealing a deeply hidden cold glint. His figure was as swift as lightning, following closely behind her. The moment their figures vanished, the blood-red light and the compass also disappeared, as if the brief teleportation had never occurred. After a moment of dizziness, Wang Lin found himself in a strange starry sky. Here, there was no distinction between heaven and earth, only an expanse of dazzling starlight. They were standing on a platform about 100 zhang in size. From it, a winding path, roughly 10 zhang thick, floated in the starry sky, leading to an unknown distance. Yao Xixue sat down cross-legged, telling Wang Lin to also meditate there, comprehending the artistic conception to obtain the so-called qualification imprint before they could step onto this path of reverence. Wang Lin did not comply, but instead walked to the edge of the platform, gazing intently at the path. With just one look, his pupils suddenly constricted. How could that be a mere path? It was clearly a colossal beast, like a flood dragon, whose body stretched for countless miles. He instantly understood that this was probably the venerable beast Yao Xixue spoke of, and he was greatly alarmed. This beast was not recorded in the memories of the ancient god Tozin. Who could possess such heaven-defying divine abilities as to set up a formation here and use the body of such a colossal beast as a path? He glanced back at Yao Xixue, who was meditating, and thought to himself that he must find a way to extract all the secrets of this place from her. Just as he sat down cross-legged, preparing to deal with Yao Xixue first, a thought suddenly flashed through his mind like lightning. The land of the Netherworld is rumored to be formed from the immortal emperor's cave dwelling. This scene before me might just be the work of that immortal emperor. Wang Lin remained silent for a moment, looking around. He stopped pondering the matter and instead calmed his mind to comprehend his own artistic conception. However, during this process, he always kept a wisp of his divine sense cautiously circling his body to guard against any sudden moves from Yao Xixue. He knew very well that any precautions he could think of, the other party could naturally also think of. Therefore, now was definitely not the time for them to make a move against each other. As Wang Lin gradually entered a state of emptiness, the ethereal image of the cycle of life and death faintly emerged within him, and everything around him was clearly reflected in his mind. He keenly perceived a mysterious power descending from the sky, silently gathering on the platform and slowly circling around Yao Xixue's body. Wang Lin immediately focused all his attention on that power. He watched as that power circled for a moment, then suddenly converged towards Yao Xixue's glabella. In an instant, a golden light shone at Yao Xixue's glabella, only to gradually dissipate after 3 breaths. When Yao Xixue opened her eyes again, Wang Lin was shocked to discover that within her pupils, complex golden runes, composed of 3 strokes, were flickering. When Wang Lin's gaze met hers, which contained the golden runes, his mind trembled. It was as if lightning had flashed through his mind and spring thunder had exploded in his ears. In that instant, he actually had an illusion, as if he were facing the ancient god Tozin again. The Yao Xixue before him was no longer a cultivator in the late stage of soul transformation, but had transformed into a supreme immortal venerable whom he could not resist. This intense sense of pressure was something even Tian Yunzi had never made him feel. But Wang Lin's Dao heart was incredibly firm, and he immediately saw through the trick. The one exuding this majesty was not Yao Xixue herself, but the pair of golden runes in her eyes. He took a deep breath, forcibly suppressing the shock in his heart, and no longer paid attention to her. Instead, he re-immersed himself in his own comprehension of the heavenly Dao. He understood that the appearance of these golden runes must be greatly related to that mysterious power from earlier. Yao Xixue opened her eyes for a moment, then closed them again. Wang Lin, meanwhile, in his comprehension of the cycle of life and death, recalled scenes from the past. After an unknown period of time, that mysterious power appeared once again on the platform. This time, it was directed at Wang Lin. Yao Xixue suddenly opened her eyes, her gaze fixed on the void, with dazzling golden light in her eyes. That mysterious power instantly appeared, circling continuously around Wang Lin's body. Wang Lin's mind immediately entered a strange state, as if he were in a bewildering world. Countless figures flashed before his eyes, and indistinct whispers, male and female, constantly echoed in his ears. He couldn't see clearly, nor could he hear clearly, and this contradictory feeling made him somewhat uncomfortable. This state lasted for a long time, so long that Wang Lin almost forgot the passage of time. Gradually, the voices in his ears grew louder, and the figures before his eyes became clearer. Just as everything was about to become completely clear, all these illusory sights and sounds began to silently dissipate once more. Wang Lin keenly seized this fleeting opportunity. In the instant between clarity and dissipation, he immediately concentrated the last trace of his mark of slaughter in his ears. Wu Qingling. Non-action, clear spirit. A clear voice instantly entered his ears, but this voice only lasted for an instant before vanishing along with everything else before his eyes. Wang Lin seized the opportunity, choosing not to look, but to listen, because sound often conveys more truthful information than sight. The moment everything disappeared, Wang Lin, as if waking from a deep dream, suddenly opened his eyes. Within his pupils, golden light intensely flickered, lasting for 6 breaths before slowly dissipating. At the same time, a pair of golden runes also appeared in his eyes. However, these runes were composed of 6 strokes, far more complex than Yao Xixue's 3-stroke runes. Seeing this, Yao Xixue's expression immediately turned extremely ugly. She hadn't expected that the golden rune imprint Wang Lin obtained would actually surpass hers. Wang Lin also immediately noticed that when he looked at Yao Xixue again, the previous irresistible sense of majesty was naturally gone. Instead, a strange feeling of looking down on her arose in his heart. Yao Xixue felt extremely uncomfortable under his gaze and subconsciously averted her eyes. She said coldly, having obtained the Golden Fortune qualification, "You may step onto the path of reverence." She then took the first step onto that winding path. Wang Lin thoughtfully looked at his palm. The 6 runes were clearly projected there. He suppressed the doubts in his heart and stepped onto the path drawn by the giant Beast Mountain range. This path floated above the endless abyss of stars, gently swaying left and right, where a slight misstep could send one plummeting into the abyss, their fate unknown. The two moved extremely fast, one after the other, following the path. 3 days later, they still hadn't seen the end. Yao Xixue was accustomed to this, having been there many times and knowing this was only 1/3 of the journey. After several more days, a huge platform finally appeared ahead on the path. Standing on the platform was a strange stone statue, about 3 zhang tall, with unusually large ears and arms. Yao Xixue stopped, turned to Wang Lin and said, "This is the first layer of the seal. We'll take turns breaking it. I'll go first on this layer." Wang Lin responded calmly. Yao Xixue wasted no more words and leaped onto the platform. The moment he moved, the 3 golden runes in his eyes automatically flashed out, landing on the stone statue with his gaze. The stone statue trembled all over, suddenly opening its eyes and revealing a ruthless light. It stomped its foot with a roar, and a thick murderous aura spread out. Yao Xixue was already familiar with this. While in midair, he took out a strange blood-red jade talisman and lightly uttered the word wind. The jade talisman shattered, transforming into a dense blood-red light that, like shackles, firmly bound the stone statue in place. Yao Xixue glanced back at Wang Lin, then walked directly to the other end of the platform, stepping onto the second path of obedience. Wang Lin's pupils contracted. He clearly saw that the stone statue's cultivation was no weaker than a cultivator in the early stage of soul transformation, yet it was sealed so easily by Yao Xixue. He immediately deduced that the blood-red jade talisman must be a precious treasure refined by his father, the evil clan. He calmly stepped onto the platform. As he walked past the sealed stone statue, his peripheral vision caught a flash of golden light within the statue. He didn't stop, but as he stepped onto the second path of obedience, he casually glanced back. In that instant, the mark of life on his brow condensed into his eyes, piercing through the bloodlight seal. He clearly saw a rune flashing on the stone statue. It was a basic rune composed of only 1 stroke. Wang Lin silently memorized this rune and followed along with a normal expression. He discovered that whether it was Yao Xixue's 3-stroke rune or the 6-stroke rune in his own eyes, both seemed to contain this basic 1-stroke rune. He began to harbor murderous intent towards Yao Xixue, but also knew that the other party possessed a blood soul pill, making it extremely difficult to kill him. 7 days later, they arrived at the second platform. The stone statue there was almost identical to the previous one, except for a third eye, half-closed, on its brow. Yao Xixue stopped at the front, indicating it was Wang Lin's turn to act. Wang Lin didn't hesitate and stepped onto the platform, but the moment he did, he immediately closed his eyes. At the same time, he completely sealed his eyes with the Mark of Life, wanting to test whether the golden runes could still emerge in this situation. The experiment's result was that the golden runes did not appear, but the stone statue was activated the moment he landed, roaring and stomping towards him. Wang Lin immediately unsealed his eyes, allowing the Mark of Life to spread throughout his body. His figure dodged across the platform like a swimming dragon. He was not in a hurry to attack, but continuously threw out various mirrors to probe. He found that these invisible mirrors, when they struck the stone statue, actually shattered like mirrors. He immediately understood that the stone statue itself was composed of restrictions, and violent destruction was definitely not the right way. The stone statue, repeatedly blocked by Wang Lin's movement technique, couldn't help but roar. It stomped heavily on the ground, causing the entire platform to tremble violently. In an instant, countless sharp stone spikes suddenly burst out from underground, covering all areas except the center. Wang Lin had already been secretly on guard and shot up into the sky. The stone statue stomped the ground again, and countless stone spikes rose from the ground, shooting towards Wang Lin in midair like a volley of arrows. Wang Lin's goal was not to forcibly break through, but to use this opportunity to thoroughly understand the essence of the stone statue. In his eyes, these stone spikes were transformed from various restrictions, and facing the sky full of them, he was fearless. He waved his right hand, and countless restrictions whistled out. Following the strange combination he had deduced in his mind, he swept and disintegrated those stone spike restrictions, turning them into a part of his own restriction banner and greatly increasing its power. Wang Lin's figure descended. The restriction banner transformed into a whirlwind, tightly coiling around the stone statue. He himself turned into a wisp of green smoke, rapidly circling the stone statue in the opposite direction, constantly waving his hands and striking newly deduced restrictions into it. Wang Lin then let out 4 loud shouts of "break." Under the endless internal and external attacks of restrictions, the stone statue's body, originally composed of restrictions, began to collapse and shrink at a visible speed. In this critical moment, the stone statue let out a fierce roar. Its third eye on its brow suddenly opened, and a golden light shot out, actually forcing back and dissolving Wang Lin's restrictions over a large area. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He clearly saw that the moment the golden light shone, a golden rune composed of 2 strokes appeared in the stone statue's third eye. Wang Lin let out a low growl, spitting out essence blood onto the restriction banner. Endless restrictions surged forth again, fiercely clashing with the golden light. After 2 breaths, the golden light finally dissipated. The ruthless light in the stone statue's eyes turned dim, and then it collapsed with a roar. At the moment of collapse, countless restrictions that formed its body turned into black mist, surging wildly in all directions. The golden rune composed of 2 strokes also flashed out, seemingly about to vanish into nothingness. At this very moment, Wang Lin's heart was moved. He subconsciously raised his right index finger and, in the void, drew the basic rune from the first layer's stone statue with 1 stroke. Immediately after, without pausing, he drew a second stroke on top of that rune. The 2 strokes intertwined, clearly forming the 2-stroke golden rune from the stone statue's third eye. As this rune was completed, the golden rune that was about to disappear immediately changed direction, like a fish returning to water, merging with the rune Wang Lin had drawn and becoming one. Wang Lin's eyes gleamed with a strange light. His index finger still didn't stop, and he drew a 3rd stroke. A three-stroke rune, identical to the one in Yao Xixue's eyes, quietly formed at his fingertip. The moment the rune formed, the immortal power within Wang Lin's body automatically began to circulate, flowing along his finger into the rune and causing it to burst forth with 10,000 rays of golden light. These three-stroke runes contained a certain mark of the heavenly Tao, exuding a sense of perfect harmony. Wherever the golden light shone, the black mist that had permeated the platform due to the stone statue's collapse slowly dissipated completely. Yao Xixue was utterly shocked. He had come here several times before, but always in a hurry to succeed. He had used the blood talismans bestowed by his father to directly seal the stone statue with a clever method, unwilling to get entangled with it. Although he had also noticed those golden runes, because he had never truly shattered the stone statue, he naturally couldn't, like Wang Lin, by chance, absorb the core of the runes that overflowed after the stone statue collapsed. Wang Lin, however, felt at this moment that after the immortal power merged into the rune, if he couldn't draw the fourth stroke, the perfect structure of these three-stroke runes would immediately collapse. However, he had no idea of the trajectory of the fourth stroke. His eyes flashed, and he immediately flicked this three-stroke rune, which contained immense power, towards Yao Xixue. Yao Xixue's expression changed drastically. He rapidly retreated, and at the same time, without hesitation, he grabbed several blood-red jade talismans from his storage bag, held them in front of him, and crushed them one by one. Layers of blood-red light continuously covered the golden rune, attempting to engulf it. Yao Xixue threw out nearly 1/10 of his blood jade reserves, and finally, after a moment, he completely dimmed the golden light of the rune, causing it to dissipate within the blood-red light. Okay, that's all the content for this video. If you enjoyed it, please don't hesitate to like, share, and subscribe. After all, your support is my motivation to keep creating content. I'm Wang Lin. See you in the next video.